Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, you're listening to World Combat Sports. Welcome to edition of Muddy Flats MMA. You know what it is. It's all about mixed martial arts. I want to talk about one of the biggest, the most lucrative fights that you may potentially see in mixed martial arts history and in combat sports if it all goes down. First of all, I want to give a salute to everyone that's in the chat. Hit the like button if you're joining, dropping in for some mixed martial arts talk. You know what it is. This is what I do. World Combat Sports, man. It's Muddy Flats, man. MMA is dirty. MMA is a dirty game. You got to be different to compete over here at mixed martial arts. I want to talk about the trio that could potentially determine one of the biggest fights in combat history. When I say combat sports history, it's potentially could be one of the biggest fights in combat sports history. Now, am I saying that it's going to be the biggest? No, I'm not. I'm saying it's going to be one of the biggest, and it's going to rank up there comparable to mixed martial arts and boxing. If it's able to go down. I'm talking about right now, we have a triangle effect going on. The triangle effect is one Blachowicz, which is the European fighter that you see on the thumbnail, and Israel Adesanya. One Blachowicz, right? He's 27-8 right now. He is the current light heavyweight champion. Israel Adesanya, he is the current middleweight champion at 185 pounds. He's currently 20 victories and 0 defeats. Just a little bit of backstory about how these guys got to where they at. If anybody watched what Israel Adesanya, a prior kickboxer that fought at the top of the food chain, he crossed over to mixed martial arts. And he started going on this run. He went to distance with Brad Tavares, and then I think his name was Calvin Vinatieri. And then he stepped up a little bit. He got in there with some bigger names like Kevin Gastelum to fight for the interim middleweight championship. Dispersed of him. Stepped in Robert Whittaker, who was the current middleweight champion. Knocked him out in the second round. Then he went in there, defended his title, Yoel Romero. One of the guys who had two opportunities to step in there with Robert Whittaker, and he didn't get it done. Even though I thought he won the second one, he couldn't get it done. So Israel Adesanya was able to get the victory. And then, of course, his most recent one, Paulo Costa. He stopped Paulo Costa easily. And people was like in shock because, the way Paulo Costa was talking and him being a much bigger fighter and pretty decent striker, they thought he was going to have enough power to step in there against Izzy. It wasn't the case. Man, Izzy dispersed of him and moved on and basically violated the man after the fight. The man was, on his knees, with his head on the canvas, and Izzy goddamn violated the man, started dry humping him. He did that Adrian Broner, Marcus Madonna type shit. Just disrespected him. So now, transition over to Warren Blachowicz. And like I said, Israel Adesanya is the current middleweight champion. He is 20-0. Now he's trying to move up to light heavyweight and face Warren Blachowicz. Juan Blachowicz is the first champion in a long time outside of John Jones to fight for the freaking title. Not named John Jones. He stepped in there for the vacant title against Dominic Reyes, who, in a lot of ways, people thought, including myself, thought he won 3-2 when he stepped in there with John Jones. He was the last he was the last fighter to face John Jones before John Jones so-called retired. John Jones has one blemish on his record, but he's never been defeated. That blemish came from a DQ against Matt Hamill. Those of you that followed the sport back then. He was dogging Matt Hamill. It was a bloodbath. And Steve Mazzagatti sit up there and freaking called a fight because he saw a 12-6 elbow. And I kind of gave my reasoning. I gave a little history on the 12-6 elbow, man, and how it all came about. One of the commissions was at an ice breaking contest, and the guys was raising their hand above their head to get that momentum and coming down with full velocity to break these blocks of ice. And he's like, you know what? That strike right there, there's no way that can be legal in mixed martial arts. So he pushed for it and got it banned. He got the 12-6 elbow banned, just like the kicks to the head while opponent is on the canvas. Now, the kicks to the head I can see, but the elbows, I think that's a little bit, outside, of his sensitivity zone. But anyway, getting back to the topic at hand. Blachowicz stepped in there against Dominic Reyes, who, took to social media and say, yeah, they telling me with 3 weeks to take this fight. And of course, Dominic Reyes wasn't going to pass it up because he has the opportunity to step in there and get his first championship. Dominic Reyes is the one that everybody was thinking was going to go in here and get the job done. But one was this guy, Blachowicz, that's the European fight. He was one of those guys that had power, and people was keeping an eye on. He's like, man, this guy Blachowicz, you need to keep an eye on him. You need to keep an eye, kind of zoomed in on this cat because he might be a little dangerous. So he went in there, dispersed the Luke Rockhold, Jacare Sosa, and then he stepped up there and stopped Corey Anderson. He basically ended Corey Anderson's reign in the UFC. Like, I'm talking about his job, his employment. Because Corey Anderson, after that fight with Juan Blachowicz, he was done. He was let go. So he went over to Bellator. And I covered that fight. He just went over there and defeated Melvin Manoff. But anyway, Blachowicz is developing a damn good name for himself. So when Dana White came out with this information, he said, hey, John Jones is now retired from the sport. He's vacating the light heavyweight championship. The two individuals going to be fighting for that title is Juan Blachowicz and Dominic Reyes. And I was like, oh, shit, this is going to be good. I already looked at it like, okay, if Dominic Reyes can repeat a performance he had with John Jones, this may get interesting. So they meet. Blachowicz being, the more stronger puncher. I give Dominic Reyes the more fluent, mobile striker. The way he was getting off first with John Jones, I was like, okay, if he's able to get off first with Blachowicz and keep his distance well and be able to soften him up and even slow him down more, he may be able to put away some early rounds if he can stay away from the power of Blachowicz. But that wasn't the case, man. Blachowicz ended up stopping. He ended up stopping Dominic Reyes in the second round, I believe. So how does this lead to what we're talking about right now is because Blachowicz is the current light heavyweight champion. Israel Adesanya, a.k.a. Izzy, the middleweight champion, has made it known that he plans on moving up to potentially challenge Blachowicz, the current light heavyweight champion. Adesanya, he's been on an unbelievable reign since he entered the UFC. He's undefeated, obviously, and he's been on a freaking tear. And a lot of people was doubting him. I have to be honest. I didn't think he would make it to the championship level without, taking a loss first. I seriously thought this cat was going to take a loss, but he was able to do it. Anyway, John Jones left the light heavyweight division because he was the king. He's considered the GOAT. He want to, the rumor has it, he's going to try to challenge for the heavyweight title. It all depends on who's next to step in the cage. So in the interim, there is a storm that has basically casted between John Jones and Adesanya. Listen, people, it ain't no can't we all get along shit. This is black on black crime right here. These two individuals, John Jones and Adesanya, do not like each other. The verbal sparring in the media has been extremely personal. I'm talking about deep, talking about your mama, talking about your daddy personal. That's what's building up this fight. Mama and daddy personal. John Jones had spoken about Izzy's father. Izzy turned around and talked about John Jones' dead mother, not in a negative way, but he was saying, like, I'm sure your mother was a good person. But, he went on to say what he had to say. And it has gotten absolutely personal. So in this triangle, what we have right here, we have one Blachowicz who may potentially face Israel Adesanya March of next year. Adesanya is attempting to be the middleweight champion and light heavyweight champion. He's trying to contend and step up and fight the bigger Juan Blachowicz. Now, Adesanya is not the biggest fighter. He's not the biggest fighter. But give him credit for having the heart to try to step up and challenge for the light heavyweight title against a heavy-handed Blachowicz. And if he's able to go in here 5 rounds and even make it to the final bell, it's a win for him because he gets the title. He becomes, I believe, only the 4th person to ever win a title simultaneously. That means hold the title in 2 divisions. You had Conor McGregor, who's the first to do it for the featherweight and lightweight division. You had Daniel Cormier, who was able to do it light heavyweight and heavyweight. And you had Amanda Nunes, female, who is still the bantamweight 135-pound and 140-pound champion. So Izzy Adesanya is trying to move up and challenge for that light heavyweight. And Dana White was actually entertaining it. It's a potential matchup that may go down March of next year for him to contend for that light heavyweight championship. If indeed this bout takes place, people, if indeed Adesanya is able to go in here and pick up this light heavyweight championship, this will summon Dana White, John Jones, and Israel Adesanya to get together for a PPV for John Jones to come back and challenge for his title for which he vacated. John Jones has never lost his light heavyweight title. Never. Every time he was suspended and came back, it was for a title shot. John Jones has never lost. He was 2-0 with Daniel Cormier. One of them he popped positive, and the other one, listen, both of them he got the better of DC. Period. If John Jones and Adesanya is able to make this work and negotiations goes well, just say he defeat Juan Blachowicz, and now he's the middleweight and light heavyweight champion, then that's even incentive for John Jones to come back down to light heavyweight for one of the biggest combat sports matchups in history. Both of these guys are considered to be in their competitive prime in stages in their career. They're considered to be similar in body composition. We're talking about the physical aspects of their striking. They're both tall, they're both rangy, and they have multiple facets to their striking dynamic. Now, if I had to give the edge of who is the better all-around striker, I would definitely go with Jon Jones because he's been on the bigger stage. And he's shown that his striking skills, I'm talking about all areas, he can basically execute some moves that you didn't even see it coming. But then you have the young lion like Adesanya, which I thought he was a little bit, like I was worrying about his ground game and everything. No, man, he's just not the fighter to get taken down like that. So, when you're talking about someone who has the stand-up striking ability with a former pedigree of kickboxing, his kicks, and of course, his range is going to serve him well against somebody like Jon Jones. But with Jon Jones, he uses that front thigh kick all the time. He usually gets off first. If you allow Jon Jones to dictate the pace in the fight, you might find yourself in a lot of trouble. Just when you think you have Jon Jones' game figured out, he end up implementing some new techniques that MMA fans just haven't seen, like his step-in elbows. We're talking about vertical elbows, his step-in vertical elbows that we've seen used against Rashad Evans. His reverse kick comes out of nowhere. Even his spinning technique is on point. If you allow him to get off, with his punch combinations, I mean, you're in trouble because his arms are so long. When he starts to touch you up and push you up against the cage, now you have to worry about the takedowns. And that's the only thing I'm looking at with Adesanya being the lighter fighter. Being up against the cage with somebody like Jon Jones that has Jon Jones has a nasty inside game. Nasty. I mean, we're not talking about someone who just leans up against the cage and it's no work that's being applied. Jon Jones has slicing elbows, punches on the inside, changing levels, takedowns. He has a wrestling background. We're talking about a guy who was in an armbar against Vitor Belfort and damn near snapped Jon's arm in half because he threw up that armbar quick. We're talking about Vitor Belfort now. Jon Jones was able to get out of it and end up finishing Vitor. So he got heart. He was in a tough 2 fights with Alexander Gustafsson. The first one, Jon took a lot of punishment, but the second one, he finished him in the second round. So I'm looking at Adesanya. Adesanya really hasn't had a rivalry like Jon Jones has had. Jon Jones has had the DCs, the Gustafssons. You know what I'm saying? He's had some big names on his resume. Lyoto Machida. He has some dogs on his resume. Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos. He's had some dogs, man. The one dog he didn't have is Anthony Rumble Johnson, who's contemplating a return here and there and everywhere. I don't know. He said he was coming back. We don't know. But this fight right here, Jon Jones and Israel Adesanya, people, I'm telling you, this is going to be a thriller. 5 rounds, 5 minutes each. Jon Jones is considered the GOAT. Adesanya is 20-0, undefeated. He goes up there and get that belt. He would have been able to accomplish something Jon Jones has not. Jon Jones has not been a champion outside of the light heavyweight division. If Adesanya is able to do it before him, then of course, Jon Jones going to feel like this cat trying to take my shine away. I got to do something about this shit. So he's going to try to go back, challenge for his old title, and it's going to be personal. That's what's going to build the fight up. Both of these individuals trash talk. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be PPV. So the promo is going the promo is going to be sick. Dana White is going to do the promo for this fight. It's going to be personal. It's going to be It's going to be derogatory. It's going to be vulgar. It's going to be everything that you look for in a promo. It's going to be Tony Harrison, Jamel Charlo. It's going to be Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis. It's going to be absolutely disrespectful. And that's going to get people to tune in. People, remember, I'm telling you this. If this fight is able to take place, you need to, kind of get an understanding to tune into these mixed martial arts fights that's taking place right now, because it's some big matchups that we can look at that say it's going to, change the game a bit. This trifecta right here is somewhat like the Bermuda Triangle, man. It's a lot going on with Blachowicz, Israel Adesanya, and of course, John Jones is the one that's in the middle. He is considerably the GOAT of mixed martial arts. For Adesanya to come in here, and first of all, if he's able to pick up the belt, now the arrows is going to be coming in surplus. Adesanya is going to start destroying John Jones. He say, look at me. I'm a freaking 2-division champion. And you've been competing in mixed martial arts long as I have, and you haven't been able to do it. Now look at me. I'm a 2-division champion. I'm the light heavyweight champion. I got your belt now. Come get it. So if he's able to come down there and Dana White and everybody hook that up, it's going to be PPV. And by then, if the fight does go down, it's going to be near the end of 2021. And they're going to make sure they put it in a nice slot. Dana is going to be very methodical about putting this on PPV and where he places it. And this is going to be one hellified fight. This is going to be historic, because both of these fighters match up very, very well. Very well. Both of them have proven that they're a beast in the game of combat. They are legitimate mixed martial arts people, and they will change the game if they meet up. We will see some high-level striking from both. It's not going to be no running around, no ducking, no dodging, no running. They're going to be fighting for one face, one name, one champ. You know what I'm saying? This is for all the marbles, man. And no, it's not going to be for Israel Adesanya's middleweight title on the line. That doesn't happen over here. It's going to be strictly for the light heavyweight title. And then at one point in time, Adesanya was saying that if John Jones becomes the heavyweight champion, he would go up there and challenge John Jones after he wins the light heavyweight championship. He would challenge John Jones at heavyweight. But I'm going to be honest, that would be a tall task for Adesanya to behold, to undertake, because if he's indeed able to go up there and challenge for the heavyweight title and win, he will be considered the best to ever do it. And for those of you that follow mixed martial arts, I know I'm always willing to freaking do, comparisons, man. You say, well, if Adesanya is being considered, one of those guys who he defeats John Jones at heavyweight, he'll be considered one of the best to ever do it, because it's who he's fighting. No one's ever defeated John Jones. And on top of that, if he's able to complete a third division, y'all, that'll be the first time that has ever happened in the UFC, period, in mixed martial arts. For somebody to hold 3 titles, if it's possible, at the same time, that means that window will be extremely tight for Adesanya. He will have to go over here, defeat Blachowicz, and then Dana White. It depends on what's going on with John Jones. If he comes back to the sport and fight heavyweight, or they got to wait on Stipe Miocic, the current heavyweight champion, to fight. But it's always those variables there, because John Jones, if he's going to step in there with Stipe, that's a tough fight for him. Stipe is coming off 2 big wins over DC, getting his title back, you know what I'm saying, defending it. So that'd be a tall task. But if these two fighters take place at the light heavyweight division, what you're going to witness, people, is history. It's absolute history. You see the dollar sign in the clouds. Both of these fighters will get paid the most money that they can ever imagine. Shit, these two will get paid very well. Adesanya, man, he will be in a position that would change his life. It won't be the Conor McGregor type change in the life, but it'll change his freaking life. John Jones, he's made a lot of money in his career too. But this fight right here will make money. And not on, look, we have to think about this also. What if the fight goes down and then there's a rematch? And the people believe that it's enough interest in there to show back up to a rematch. Then guess what? We might have a rematch. But we always, look at rematches like, damn, the first one have to be the thriller. It has to be the marker. It has to set the mood and everything. You know what I'm saying? It has to be so far on point that people are crying. They say, hey, Dana White. People are freaking dropping messages in the inbox. People on social media say, hey, we out here. We yelling, kicking, and screaming for a rematch. That would be unbelievable. Right now, Juan being 27-8. I believe he's on like a 4-fight win streak. Israel Adesanya, he's undefeated, of course. Dana White has given interest into this fight taking place next March. But Dana White has also changed his mind about certain things in the past about fights. You know what I'm saying? We're going to see if this particular fight sticks. Certain things have to happen. You know what I'm saying? From what I'm hearing, Israel Adesanya wants to fight in March. In mixed martial arts, the fight camps are a little different than boxing. They big fights like this, fighters don't necessarily have, like these straight fight camps where they in there for 10 weeks, 13 weeks. That's just crazy. Like, if you would have looked at the fights that's going on right now, some of these fighters are having very quick turnarounds with fight camp. So I'm not sure how much of a fight camp Adesanya needs to pack on that weight. Adesanya is fighting at 185 right now. He has to pack on weight, y'all. This is November. If he's to go through the holiday and then he has a good solid 2 months, that's 8. Of course, he's going to be in fight camp during December. So he has let's just say, for instance, 2021, he has those 2 months to kickstart the year. So let's give or take, he's in a fight camp 12, 13 weeks. Let's just say he's, the fight behind the scenes is official. And, Dana White's going to say, okay, I'm going to make the fight in March, get in fight camp, start training. And then when we get around this time, we're going to announce it. We're going to make it official. So therefore, he has several weeks to put on that muscle. For John Jones, all he has to do is come back down to the weight he was contending at anyway. He's been out the sport, retired a short period of time. So all he has to do is drop back down to light heavy. And Adesanya has to build himself up. John Jones has the advantage because he's not fighting in March. You know what I'm saying? He's good. So he has plenty of time to drop back down to 205. But Juan Blachowicz, that is his current weight. He's the bigger dude, the bigger fighter. So Adesanya is really the one to have to pack up that muscle and get in there with the guy who's going to be still bigger than him on fight night. But Adesanya has proven that he can handle the pressure. So far, he has proven that he can handle the pressure. So we're going to see how that works out, people. This fight is going to be epic. It's going to be history. It's going to be something that people will remember if it plays out the way it's supposed to. It's definitely going to sit up there as one of the biggest, the most lucrative mixed martial arts fight and combat sports championship fight. hands down. So y'all stay tuned for that. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it off at that. Okay. I want to talk about a recent fight that took place, right? Of course, it's mixed martial arts. They just had UFC Vegas. And it was a fighter named Ramiz Brahuma. Ramiz Brahuma. He's a welterweight fighter, 170 pounds, right? The same division that, the current champion, Kamaru Usman, contends at. So Brahuma was fighting a guy called Max Clifford, I believe. So in mixed martial arts, elbows are allowed, knees, kicks, of course, punches. And one thing about mixed martial arts, you have some fighters that through time, if they was a wrestler or they chose not to wear headgear, earpieces, as far as ear protection as a wrestler, or even in grappling, they develop what is called cauliflower, where the cartilage separate. And, they have liquid in between that. So you have a lot of fighters with the signature cauliflower ear to let anybody and everybody know that they are a fighter or wrestler. So in mixed martial arts, it has been the detriment of a lot of fighters who have a really, really bad cauliflower ear. Really bad cauliflower ear. So Brahuma, he has one of the worst injuries I've seen in a while. And I've been following mixed martial arts since the inception. I mean, I'm talking about his ear. I'm going to show you some comparisons that his ear supersedes, y'all. This is absolutely insane on how cauliflower ear can become somebody's detriment and put a loss on their record when they may be doing pretty decent. It all depends. But I'm going to show you some pictures. First, I'm going to show you this video. All right. I'm going to show you this short clip of Ramiz Brahuma, welterweight UFC fighter who just fought this weekend and is basically viral right now of the injury that he received. So hold on for a second. Take this down. So check out this video right quick. There's no sound. I just want to check out that ear. Check out the injury that he has to his ear. His ear is dangling. He grabs his ear because he feels it dangling off the side. Look at that ear. It's hanging off the side of his cranial, his facial structure. His ear is trying to say goodbye, man. Do you look at that? The cauliflower ear has imploded. It is split in half. It is a bloody mess. That is the brutality of mixed martial arts when it comes down to it. Like I've seen, injuries like this in person, man. That's kind of like, why I feel somewhere about where I feel when it comes to boxing. You just get desensitized to stuff. It's not in a bad way, but when you see situations like this, you're like, okay, I've seen that before. But he has one of the worst injuries to the cauliflower ear that I've seen. Primarily because it's dangling off and it caused him to reach up and grab his freaking ear that he's probably feeling that say, damn, something ain't right. That's an horrific injury to be on TV like that. It looks every bit of that. So let me show you a picture of how this ear looks in a picture. That's the picture of Ramiz Brahuma. Brahuma, of course, is probably went in for immediate surgery. Look at the hole. Look at the hole, people. Not only is his eye swelled up, but he damn near lost his ear. And you have boxing fans like looking at what Mike Tyson did to Evander Holyfield and it's like, oh man, that was grotesque. That right there is grotesque, people. That is a grotesque injury. That is what you call rupturing of the cauliflower ear. Real talk. So I'm going to give you some other examples of some individuals that had similar injuries to Brahuma. And I remember watching these fight. Let's talk about Sakuraba. Kasushi Sakuraba. Look at his injury. His injury is one of the worst. His injury was bad, just as bad as Brahuma. That is a legend, Japanese legend. I had the opportunity to meet him in Japan. Sakuraba, a Japanese legend. Look at his ear. It is in pieces, people. Pieces. I know you remember this right here. I know you remember this guy. This is James Thompson, right? Now, when he stepped in there with Kimbo Slice was his opposition this fight. I really didn't think he had too much to worry about when it came to his ear, but he had those ears that was just extremely bloated from cauliflower. But his ears stuck out too. And James Thompson, anybody who knows him, this dude is a loose cannon. You know, he has a crazy temper. He stepped in there with Kimbo Slice that night, and Kimbo landed enough punches to rupture the man's ear. The referee seen the rupture, seeing the injury, and he's like, I got to stop the fight. And the referee stopped the fight, and Thompson went after the referee. He was upset that he stopped the fight with his ear like that. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. And of course, this injury right here, Leslie Smith, tough fighter. She has her ups and downs in mixed martial arts, but her ear was split too. She didn't have essentially the overboard cauliflower ear, you know, but she did have some, and she received that injury from a strike and split her ear, and she was fighting for a little bit of time. Like, she was fighting with it. It was blood everywhere, and then they decided to stop the fight. But that's just some, you know, some injuries to the ears, cauliflower strikes of mixed martial arts that goes down, man. You know, those right there are some of the tough. I mean, they're some of the worst ear injuries that you would see in mixed martial arts. Like, I know we've had injuries in boxing that stands out to a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? But these right here, when you're talking about a body part almost being severed or detached, it comes like, damn, how? How is that possible? How is somebody's ear? And cauliflower ear, when the cartilage separate and you develop fluid in between the cartilage, yeah, it can implode. It can explode, rather. It can rupture, all right, from a strike, whether it be an elbow, a punch, a kick. It can absolutely rupture, and it can look just like that. So, D-Ray, what's good, man? Salute WCS. That is an ear too. That is an ear too. Absolutely, man. That is why I don't watch too many ladies MMA. Hurt to see that damage. It's some tough ladies in MMA, man. Real talk. It's some tough females in MMA. You rarely see a female with an ear injury like that. Rarely. But let me put this picture up here for the last. That is the two guys that's going to matter in this Bermuda Triangle. Israel Adesanya and Juan Blachowicz. Don't forget that I went over this future thriller, but it has some steps in it, though. It has some steps to the ladder. It's not high. It's not a lot of rungs that Israel Adesanya has to climb, but he has to go up the light heavyweight and challenge the current champion Juan Blachowicz. If he's able to do it, he will set the precedent for one of the super fights of freaking mixed martial arts history. But a lot of things has to go well for him to do that. A lot of things. He has to fight the best fight of his career, and he has to be able to have the complete perfect strategy to go in there and defeat the bigger, more powerful striker in Juan Blachowicz. So there you go. You know, if those two are able to link up and Adesanya gets the win, it will most likely indeed set up a fight with him and John Jones. Yes, it will set up a fight, a super fight. This will be a legitimate super fight. Even without Jones being a champion, this is a super fight by the caliber of opponents that's going to be in the ring, the caliber of fighters. Adesanya, undefeated. John Jones, really undefeated. No one has never beat him in the cage. These two will clash. It will be unlike any other undefeated mixed martial artist stepping into the cage. Their credentials, their popularity, and their legacy in mixed martial arts is at the top of the tier. It's at the highest pinnacle, people. At the highest pinnacle. And the only thing we need is for all the stars to align and they come up out of that Bermuda Triangle, and Dana White is able to make this fight happen. But of course, you know, Dana White does changes things up a lot. You know, he tried to stay away from these super fights and all this other stuff. You know, Conor McGregor, he gave him the go ahead because he knocked out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds. So Dana White said, you know what, forget it. You know, Conor McGregor want to go up to welterweight. And this is another way I look, you know, mixed martial arts and boxing. And people say, well, it's not good. You know, I was having a conversation, you know, the other day with Rap Star and everything. And he was like, what Kell Brook did, go up to 160 and come back down. And, you know, I see so many people in mixed martial arts that do the same thing. Conor McGregor went from 145 all the way up to 170. Fought Nate Diaz twice and then dropped back down to 155. He fought Nate Diaz twice and dropped back down. That means he was comfortable with the weight. He was at that weight or higher at 170, then dropped back down to 155 lightweight and fought Eddie Alvarez and beat him. The same thing Kell Brook went up there with Gennady Golovkin and then dropped back down to 47. Conor McGregor went from 45 all the way up to 70. You can count the pounds in between that. Then once he was able to avenge his loss from a second round submission, the first one, he was able to get that rematch and get that victory. He dropped back down to contend for his second title in a higher division. And he ended up stopping Eddie Alvarez and came the first 2 division champion. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, set up one of the most epic fights between mixed martial arts, MMA, and boxing. That right there presented the fight with Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. That is a history fact. Conor McGregor was able to take to social media and start calling out Floyd Mayweather. And the fight ended up taking place, even though Conor McGregor was 0-0 as a professional fighter. That was one of the top grossing fights. A lot of freaking celebrities and superstars and everybody showed up to that fight. Tickets was out of control. But that, you know, that made a lot of people some money. Dana White, everybody, it made them a lot of money, but that's a historic fact. They're trying to do this same fight with Juan Blachowicz, doing a title eliminator a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, the super fight doesn't happen if Blachowicz defeats Adesanya. It doesn't happen. But if indeed Adesanya defeats him, it will absolutely set up one of the most equal. I'm talking about trash talking from both sides, skill sets, credentials, dangerous, lethal striking ability from both fighters. The threat factor is there. Everything is perfect for these two to link up. Perfect. They've both been champions. Even though John Jones is no longer the light heavyweight champion, he vacated his title. Still, it's a super fight. So all I can say is, you heard it here. We'll see how 2021 plays out. We definitely have to work outside that Bermuda Triangle. And it is a Bermuda Triangle. Why? Bermuda Bermuda Triangle has so many strange twists and turns. And the twist and turn in this particular triangle is the fact that Adesanya has to first get a hold of that light heavyweight championship. And that is a tall task to ask when you're talking about challenging a guy like Juan Blachowicz, who just picked up the belt from Dominique Reyes, and he has some damn TNT in his hands. It's going to be sick. What is the perfect strategy for what exactly? What exactly you speaking on? Like, are you talking about the fight, or what is the perfect strategy? What do you mean? Like, we're talking about mixed martial arts, so the strategy can be wide open. The strategy can be wide open for two equally, skilled fighters that has similarities in how they go about applying their strategy. You know what I'm saying? Their skill sets are somewhat similar. They apply kicks, punches. I mean, they're pretty much, they're tall, slender frames. I would say John Jones has the advantage. He's been on the championship stage. He's been in with bigger names. So I have to give him the advantage. But people, you heard it here. Stay tuned. Let the weeks, let's usher in the final weeks of 2020 and everything. The UFC doesn't have them grand finales like boxing has. We don't have a fight like Errol Spence and Danny Garcia, with all the anticipation coming up at the end of the year. We have some fights that's going down in December, but nothing to the magnitude of what we're gonna see, with Errol Spence and Danny Garcia, And also, Shakur Stevenson is trying to freaking step in there December 12th. We have Joshua Greer Jr. that's stepping in this weekend. Shout out to Don't Blink, man. One of his people that he knew. Chicago. King Von was killed down here in Atlanta, Georgia. Joshua Greer Jr. knew him. And also, if you ever, read into Joshua Greer's story, a good friend of his, Ed Bad Boy Brown, back in the day was also gunned down. And, if you look at the ringside, you will actually see the open casket of Ed Brown. They showed it because the fighter that's in the documentary knew Ed Bad Boy Brown. They was coming up on the boxing scene together. So they see him they show him attending the funeral. They show the open casket with Ed Brown. That was the first time, really, I didn't think they would allow somebody to do it. But yeah, that was all over the news when it happened, because Ed Brown was a problem. Like, Ed Brown was talented. And Joshua Greer, you knew him. Kenneth Jr. knew him. Yeah, man. So I'm glad I was able to get the interview out the way. And I appreciate them for allowing me to interview them in San Antonio. Check out the interview on my YouTube channel. But that's where we at right now, man. I'm gonna leave it at that. Appreciate everyone who pulled up. Stay tuned in to World Combat Sports, and definitely turn up and tune in